regarding a position that I've been taking ever since I refused to sign the 3 billion UBS loan, and I will continue to maintain the position, and I will continue to take steps to further the work that I have done to stop this very bad loan. What I will do is I will take the next step. But before I do that, let me, on behalf of the majority of the people of Papua New Guinea, comprised of 8 million people, applaud the institutions of government, institutions of the state that are owned by the people of Papua New Guinea, in taking up this very important position against a bad loan. So many facts have been misconstrued. So many truths have not been told, but have been concealed. So many fundamental important steps that should have been taken were never taken. The consultation that must be done and approved by the Parliament never took place. And I'd like to thank those institutions and the people of Papua New Guinea for the lending institutions or other agents of government, statutory bodies, government departments, and individual citizens in taking up the position, calling on the Prime Minister to cancel the UBS loan of 3 billion kina. It's a correct move, and I applaud them for this position that the people have taken. Because only time will prove that the loan is not just economically bad, but it's also commercially very, very bad. Yes, I had many people say it is the best deal. It is the best deal. And ladies and gentlemen, I say it depends. If you have been one of those that have initiated and proposed this loan to benefit in one or another, to satisfy greed, then of course it's going to be the best deal for those people. But if you look at it across the spectrum of the country's population and the future of Papua New Guinea children, it is not the best deal for the 99.9% of Papua New Guineans. It's not the best deal. It probably is the best deal for only 5, only 6, less than 6. Only a few people it's the best deal for them, because there is a big slice of cake for them in there. But for Papua New Guinea, it is not the best deal. It is definitely the worst deal that any government would have done for Papua New Guineans. And I like to say here that to further my fight, I've taken legal actions through my lawyer. I like to commend my lawyer, Mr. Napo, for acting swiftly on this matter when I gave him the instructions not so long ago to file an application to seek an order to stop and to declare this, for the courts to declare these transactions illegal, unconstitutional, and ultimately to reverse the process. I'm doing it so that I get a court to establish this as unconstitutional, as illegal, and ultimately to reverse the process where the 3 billion kina loan is cancelled and the people of Papua New Guinea are relieved of the liability that this loan has created for Papua New Guineans. When you free up the people of this liability, it's unnecessary, unwarranted, unjustified liability. The people would be freed of this liability to have very important and fundamental, tangible issues addressed, like power PNG, insolvency and bankruptcy, like telecommunication, like infrastructure development, like socio-economic development, like health services, quality education services. Those will become easily available, funds will become easily available. When Papua New Guinea is relieved of these liabilities, the funds can then be used to address those very important fundamental issues that we can see tangible evidence of money spent on the ground. But with the shares, the court that I'm seeking is to nullify this, to declare it null and void, so that the funds become available for these very important projects that the government is mandated to provide. I also like to call on those individuals, those few minority proponents of this deal, to also admit that it's a bad deal. They've been motivated by their greed, by their selfishness to make themselves become wealthy at the expense of the majority of Papua New Guineans. It's unfair. They know it. When I'm saying this, they know it because I know it also. And there's evidence that every institution of this country has to prove it, that they've done it only for their own interest, not in the interest of Papua New Guinea. They've done it to create fast wealth for nothing, just for preparing papers like this, just for signing documents, just for consulting and talking with bankers and financiers like UBS and a few others. They've just made millions of United States of America dollars, US dollars. And the claims at the moment as I speak, they're floating around everywhere from the state, claiming exorbitant fees and claims with regards to this transaction. And I wanted to call them, those Papua New Guineans and those others who have done it for this greedy, selfish interest to just amass themselves with wealth, not even over a night, over a matter of hours. I call them to step down and say this is bad and give up and abort this process. We've got to think about the mass of the population. There's enough for everybody. This country has enough for everybody. For the next 300 to 400 years, Papua New Guinea has enough for all our generations to come. There's no point. There's no individual point in one particular individual. I feel six, or even one corporate organization to amass wealth and claim everybody's wealth and everybody's shares to those few, polarized few. It's unfair. This country is enough for everybody that can be shared. That prosperity and wealth can be shared not only today, but also into the future generations and yet to come. There is no cause for one to amass wealth for himself and to become filthy rich at the expense of the majority. Therefore, I have taken this court order. I've taken this court proceedings to seek court orders. And I'm hopeful that courts will grant me these orders to stop this, to nullify this, to declare this unconstitutional and illegal. And that's the next step I've taken to fight this cause. To fight this cause so that I stop this bad culture. This is a bad culture. This is a bad culture. Leaders of the country will think that they can use their positions to amass themselves wealth at the expense of the people and then use the people's name to say it is a good deal. It is the best deal. That is embarrassing. To amass wealth at the suffering of Papua New Guineans, it is a shameful thing. It is embarrassing. And I like to urge other institutions to continue to maintain the stand, and I will fight it further. I've taken one step further, and that is that I will take court orders to nullify these transactions. Even if I hear people say that it is already a done deal, the shares have been bought, and then the stock market, but at the expense, at the liability of Papua New Guineans, at an extra 3 billion kina debt onto Papua New Guineans existing 14 billion kina debt. We've got 14 billion kina debt built into this year's budget, this year's economy. And to build another 3 billion on top, it will take us to 3 billion. So we've got shares out there of 149 million shares that had a 3 billion kina price that we have bought at the stock market, at Papua New Guinea's liability, at its cost. I say no. Those shares should be sold immediately and the funds be recouped back to those who lended us the money, and so that we cut down further liabilities under the state, because they will be charging extra fees and extra money. As we progress into the future, if there's no decision taken, the state will lose more and more. And I like to say two more very important dynamics that I want the people of this country to know. Two more important dynamics. The first is, listen to this, all church, acquired 22.8% share on the Elk Antelope project, Elk Antelope LNG project, at a cost of $900 million US, $900 million for only 22.8% share. Now compare that with Total. Total acquiring a 40.1% share on the same project at a cost of $401 million. $401 million acquiring 40.1% share, and $900 million acquiring 22.8% share. That's a huge disparity in the share price. It's a huge disparity. Somebody ought to explain that. These are facts. These are facts. These are the truth. Somebody ought to come out and explain why that huge disparity in price. All it says is buying at more than 2 times more than what Total has spent, but also buying less amount of shares than what Total has bought. So there's something fishy going on in this transaction. And I'm more determined that the courts will find it out. I'm more determined that if the court does give the orders, the court will go into digging these things out. I'm more determined because nobody's coming out to explain to Papua New Guineans why the disparity in these prices of acquiring varied amount of shares, varied amount of prices on the same project, at the same time, at the same price values. This dynamic needs to be explained. Another fact that is developed is all it says is taken a lawsuit, as far as I understand, against Total on these political transactions. The question is why? We'd like to know why. Why is doing it? We appreciate both of those two investors. Total is an investor that we have welcomed into Papua New Guinea as one of those competitors against other competitors in the market. It is good for Papua New Guinea because it is competitive, it is competition. All said, we also are happy that it is a household name of Papua New Guinea, but why should they go to court? What's that happening? Is there something at the back of this that Papua New Guineans don't know? Hypothetically speaking, Papua New Guineans, if they, on behalf of the governments, impose purchase of this 10.1% share at 1.239 billion Australian dollars, then hypothetically Papua New Guineans are shareholders. They want to know why their company, Allsets, is taking Total to court. We want to understand what's happening there. It's happening at the same time, so coincidentally. The second issue is they want to also know why Allsets spent $900 million to purchase only 22.8% share, whilst Total spent $400 million to purchase 40% share on the same project. We, Papua New Guineans, as shareholders in this business, ought to know why this disparity and variance in all these very important fundamental figures, mathematics that is presented to us on this project. And because there's nobody prepared to tell us the truth, there's no one prepared to tell us what's actually happening, I have filed this court proceedings. So the courts will dig out the truth and tell the people of this country who deserve to know the truth, who deserve to know what is happening. All these details and these facts that people of opinions must know. It is their project. It is their land. It is their resources. The people own it. The government is only a custodian. The Prime Minister is only a custodian and trusted with the responsibility to telling the truth. And here we find the truth missing and so much facts misconstrued, and the courts are the right authority, and the Papua New Guinea people will rely on the decision of the court to find out the facts that come out of this transaction and some of these truths that are not being told here. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions?